When it comes to EVE Online, every player wants to know the most effective tactic available. You want to know the meta. The meta controls everything. It determines what will and will not happen. Knowing the meta will alter your views, make you question your reality. It might even make you laugh. And now, you're part of it. You're watching The Meta Show.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is Saturday, October the 2nd. You are watching The Meta Show. I am so proud to have all of you here, all of you, ladies and gentlemen, kids of all ages from 1 to 92, ready to sit here and watch me, Brisker Ball, your host, alongside our sublime Padishah Emperor of the Imperium himself, the Matani. Hi, guys. We made it. Listen, I know you guys are all freaking out because we made it 2 weeks in a row without me getting like some weird ailment that kept us off the show, but it happened. So we're here and we're here for you. Hi, boss.
I'm sitting here realizing that now it's my turn to have difficulties because I decided to be an idiot and clear all of my everything right before the show. And so I'm going to have trouble hearing things here for a second. So now, you know, Brisk gets a lot of heat, but Brisk hosts the show and makes everything actually happen. So
push all the buttons.
Yes, exactly. Press every button. Anyway, so forget all this. Brisk, can you say something real quick here?
I can say anything you need. Can you hear me? Are you doing okay?
I'm going without the earpiece. We're dropping this because I'm just hearing you straight from Zoom today. And so
that's it.
Rather than I'm just going to free myself from my little Mr. Smith style Agent
You are
Smith
no longer
style
shackled
earpiece,
to the in-ear
we'll
monitor.
Just let the Zoom flow.
I like it. I like it.
All right. There we go. Yeah.
How are you today?
I'm good. Things are really interesting. Like we've space chores have reached an amusing point. So as you guys probably know, Saturday is a big day in the Imperium in terms of just meetings and making the ship of state sail, sort of like how we also have firesides on Sundays and stuff like that. So international organization, that means Saturdays and Sundays are a thing. And it's really kind of satisfying when I see the results of our after victory bureaucracy sort of forced march sprint, right? We did all this moon policy stuff because when we won the war, we won it very abruptly. And there was just a ton of policy work to do. And now the Illum meetings are, we're a few weeks ahead. I might be eating these words later, but I'm feeling really happy with the directions things are going. And it's interesting, like space geopolitics are interesting again, because we blew up a Keep Star. Apparently sharded armor was PAPIsnowden. Not me. I think that somebody needs to.
We got to get to that. That's going to be good.
We're gonna get to that. There's a bunch of stuff. We got maybe crab modules. Like stuff is popping off in space. So I'm in a pretty good mood.
I am as well. And one of the other reasons why I'm in a pretty good mood is we are 19 days, ladies and gentlemen, from Eve Vegas. If you are not coming to hang out with us in Eve Vegas, what the hell is wrong with you? October 22nd to the 24th at Circa. Right off the strip on Fremont Street. I like to say Fremont because it triggers people, but Fremont Street. We've spent a lot of time on Fremont Street. The Imperium has over the years. Now we've decided to make it permanent. We're going to go over there to Circa. This place is $1 billion casino. It just opened. This sports book is supposed to be amazing. There's all kinds of stuff for everybody to do. And you get to hang out with me and Matani and Merkelchen and Anominate and all of your other favorite space pals. So if you have not made up your mind whether or not you're coming to Eve Vegas, get your ass moving. You got 19 days until we're kicking it off, and we hope to see you all there. That
is mind-blowing. 19 days.
It's crazy.
I've been nose to the grindstone working on various projects, and so that's like, I've mentally speaking, I was like, Vegas is like a month away kind of thing, and now I'm like, oh no, that's 2.5 weeks. Okay, all right, we're doing this. It's gonna be a blast, and I've missed hanging, we have to be concerned about the Delta stuff and whatever, but I think everybody's going to wear masks and we're going to be as reasonably cautious as possible. And everybody there should be vaccinated like adults. And it should be a great time. And I've missed you nerds. I've missed, particularly the Imperium crew. I'm not going to lie, because I'm so used to being able to run around the world and hang out with my space buddies all around the place, and it'll be really nice to finally have like a normal station on the cross. This is a thing we do, Vegas. So I'm really looking forward to that. God damn.
I am as well. And I think it's going to be fun. We're finally going to be able to get back to a little bit of semblance of normalcy. And if you can't do that, let me throw something else out there for you guys. Mrs. Brisk, my wife, who is one of the stars of Rampage Incorporated, she almost never gets on camera. She does get on camera every once in a while, but she can't come to Vegas because, thanks to COVID, our childcare situation doesn't make it possible for both parents to leave for 4 days at the same time.
Yikes.
So because she can't make it to Vegas, we're bringing the party to her. We will be doing a January Eve meet in Washington, D.C., our nation's capital. For those of you outside the United States, the capital of the world. We got a lot of airports. We got a lot of hotels. Come hang out with us. It'll be January 14th to the 17th. There's more information I will provide later in the show when I go and get the Eventbrite stuff, and I'll put it out there for you. We got a good block of hotel rooms. You can get a hotel room in D.C., in Georgetown, the chic part of town, for $99, because my wife is the queen of getting people to do what she wants when they don't want to. So we have that all set up for you guys. Vegas first, DC January. It's going to be a great time. We're going to have a lot of fun doing all this kind of stuff. Second thing, as you can see, as part of our meta show, Changing Backgrounds, we are in a special place in EVE Online for the background of the show today. I hope you guys really know cool where we are. You kind of should know. We spent a lot of time there, in January. So some sort of a big event might have happened at that place. There was like a thing there. So just be aware of this as we get started. So very brief at the top of the show, I wanted to acknowledge yesterday we had a Sino Vigil in 1DQ for a dearly departed member of the Imperium, Ladeji Lupo, who was a GSOL director, someone that Matani and many others had worked with on a daily basis for many, many years. Passed away to cancer. We had a long vigil for him. It was a great time. We had a lot of friends out there. Everybody was being respectful. I got doomsday, so it was like a regular day in EVE.
That's always appropriate.
But I think for all of us, this is the kind of thing. And unfortunately with EVE, this game's almost 20 years old. We've grown up with this game. Some of us started growing up a lot sooner than others did. And we seem to lose people quite a bit, especially over the last couple of years. So it's a shame. We're going to miss him. And I didn't know if you wanted to say anything, Mittens. You worked with him all the time. But I at least wanted to acknowledge that on the show today.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's one of the most fulfilling, but also one of the rougher parts of leadership in video games for anyone, right? Like this is the thing that I think that as gamers collectively, as a cohort age, particularly the people who are in the Nintendo generation, and the ones that were ahead of the game, ahead of us, we are getting older and we are losing folks. And one of the things that I am thankful for is that in the EVE community, one of the things that is nice about EVE is that you can really know somebody and know them not just through hearing about them, but seeing their deeds, their actions, their, what they did, what an impact they made. And the fact that we have a ritual sort of that is specific to losing someone in EVE Online, I think it's terrible to have so many Sino vigils. It just breaks my fucking heart. But on the other hand, it's wonderful that we have Sino vigils, because one of the things about EVE is that, in the modern world, people can be alienated from one another. You might not necessarily know people, especially with the plague times, people pass away. But one of the great things about this goddamn video game is that your friends online and EVE will remember you and will mark your passing. There will be a memorial, and your name will never be forgotten as long as any of us are around. So Lupo was a logistics director during the roughest possible time one could be a logistics director, which is during the war, being around and helping out with all that. And it's really sad because one day he just, we didn't know about this until a few weeks after it happened. And it was extra heartbreaking because we didn't know anything was wrong. And then we found out about 3 weeks after the fact when his wife informed people on his Facebook page. And so it was a particularly rough loss because it I think inherently there's a degree of guilt and like, oh my God, how did we not know? I wish we had known. So rip Lupo, you will never be forgotten. And that goes for any of us who, as long as we know that one of us has passed, we'll make sure your passing is marked and you will be remembered. So that's that.
All right. And with that note, we're going to move on to the rest of the show. Today, we have a lot of stuff to talk about. We have some CCP stuff, but most of the stuff we have a lot of nullsec politics. We haven't done nullsec politics in a while because there hasn't been anything.
We got some nullsec politics again.
Right, we're getting some politics. So we're going to talk about the big news of the week, which is Brave Collective is getting their stuff, getting off the couch in Geminate, and they're going to go take their own space in Pureblind. That is our top story of the day. So I would like to say a big thank you to our dear friend Dunk Dinkle for doing his town hall on a Friday, not immediately after the Meta Show, so that we would have news and audio for all of you people to watch today. Now, last week I gave Shattered Armor a hard time because he scheduled his town hall for immediately after the Meta Show. But you know the best part of his town hall was, boss?
That he's PAPISnowden.
We'll get to that in a minute. That all he told them was, we're going to tell you what we're going to do in a week. I mean,
he trained at the feet of the masters. Like he had like a year and a half of practice learning how to say that they're going to announce an announcement from Elf Boy and Piggles himself. So like there's probably no better protege in EVE Online right now who has the better experience about trying to dodge the Meta Show while announcing an announcement. So Sharded, you really got to give the guy credit.
I mean, like it's not, he learned, he totally learned. It just made me laugh. It made me laugh, but I thank you for doing what you did so that we have audio. So we have audio, we have a post from Shattered talking about it. I will go to our handy dandy new screen here and we're going to look at this stuff together. That's me and Mittens. It's like Inception. It's kind of cool. But here we go. This is a brand new military update from Shattered Armor talking about how after the end of the collapse of PAP, the end of World War B, they're getting ready to go. They are moving to 5ZXX Tech K in Pureblind. They're going to begin an offensive against Banderlog's Alliance and Flying Dangerous. Let me show you guys what the region looks like. So here is our handy dandy map of EVE Online, at least this part of it. The northern section, you can see where Pureblind is. Let me get my pen out and ready to go so I can. My pen is out. There we go. All right. Pureblind is right here. They are in Geminate right now. They have to go here. Okay. That's where they're moving. They're moving about 3 or 4 jumps over. This space is currently occupied as Shattered noted in his speech, by a bunch of random people who will kick their asses. And this is something that I think is interesting because, and we're going to get to some audio that Dunk talked about before. There are people living here and they're not renters. If you guys have been in Pureblind at all, you have fought Banderlogs. These guys are one of the hardcore Russian crew that lives there. They will fuck you up.
Are they trying to? What about the other ones? Like I'm going to interrupt your flow here for a second because I knew about the Banderlogs thing, but these other guys, Pureblind is not normally like on my radar too much. I know Banderlogs have been there forever because we have a history with them. Some good, some bad. But they're Russians, and the usual Imperium policy is to never get involved in Russian on Russian violence. These other guys that Brave is also invading, the ones you mentioned whose names I've already forgotten. What time zone are they in? Because I just don't know.
I do not know a lot about Flying Dangerous. They have far fewer numbers. They've only about 200 people.
Let us know, guys. Yeah, so Flying Dangerous.
No, they're French. Okay, these guys. Oh, Toilet Paper is another group that they have to go clear out space. They are, and I'll pull this up again. They are over here. The Toilet Paper group is over here in this area. Those guys are French. Banderlogs is all in this area here. And then you've got, it looks like they're going to start the fight over here with these guys flying dangerously. In addition, this is their staging, 5Z, right in the center of the NPC space here in Pureblind. Okay. So that's where they're going to be.
So
now,
they're turning into a MOA right where the dick hits the balls is what I'm getting.
That's exactly correct. Yes, exactly right. They're mowing now. That's it. Now the funny thing is, this area. I mean, this area is good area for us. Let me pull this up, back up here again, because if you notice, Pureblind, it comes right off a Lone Trek. We can easily get stuff in here. SNS has a Karma fleet routinely bases out of Torinos, which is right. I mean, basically Torinos, and let me pull the system map up and I'll show you. Torinos, damn it, I clicked the wrong button. No. All right. Torinos and an EC TAC here at the bottom of the screen, which is a little bit off here. Let me go to my center screen. This system here is the entrance from HiSec, from Torinos into Pureblind. That's going to be the new Keber's head GP.
Yeah.
That's where you're going to see all these guys getting bottlenecked, because it's right on the route to get where they need to go. And it's one of the main routes in. They can also go from Saarinen, which we all know very well, and come in this way as well. But both of those areas are areas of space that are easy to stop people from coming through. So I'm looking forward to that.
This
should have some fun there.
Yeah, this is. I'm gonna channel some yes minister here for. Let me. It's a very very brave, very courageous,
very brave
move. You know, they have some options there. It doesn't necessarily have to look like an immediate disaster, because they can say they're going to be attacking Vanderlogs, but you know, generally speaking, telegraphing an invasion before you've actually done it and launching an invasion against a Russian time zone group is, you know, you don't want to. I mean, I am very biased. Like it's actually, I think in both versions of, in both volumes of Empires of Eve, Andrew Groen makes a comment about how the Mittani has this thing of, because, you know, when we grew up as goons in this game, the Russians were our blood brothers when nobody else would be friends with us. And so we've just always had this sort of Russian non-interference policy of like, just why on earth would you want to fight Russians unless they attacked you when you had to, but like, you know, you don't like, so, you know, willingly going from a non-Russian, like one of the challenges they're going to have is just time zones, but I think that they can live in NPC Pureblind and sort themselves out. I might, you know, good luck.
There you go.
One of the things that's interesting about this is like they, you know, I can't criticize the move too much, because we have inherently restricted the options of a large chunk of the galaxy, because we have been making it very clear that there are certain no-go zones that, like, you know, if you try to come in here a tantrum radius and you're one of the Pappy remnants and the entire galaxy is Pappy remnants, we're going to try to wreak havoc. So, you know, if Geminate wasn't working out, what other options did they have? Like, they kind of had to go someplace NPC space. And you know, there's no shame in that. I don't think that there's anything like, you know, we're Geminate didn't work out, we're going to Pureblind to reestablish ourselves, maybe committing to attacking a Russian alliance out of the gates before you've even put your foot down. Such, you know, now they have advanced warning. Like you're telling people that you're going to be attacking them weeks before you actually are there and able to project power. So, you know, I seriously, like I said last week, I think that we're going to have like an unsolicited, you know, autocrat advice segment on the meta show occasionally. Is, you know, just if you're going to invade somebody, don't do it Oh, of course, their military director is both PAPIsnowden and Sharded Armor at the same time. We'll get to that. And their whole thing was always telegraphing their moves. One of the reasons why we knew the war was coming was because Pappy blued the entire galaxy and told everyone that they were going to invade us months in advance, which allowed us to prepare for it and beat them all. But just saying, I know you guys have learned from the masters of telegraphing who you're going to invade before you get there, but maybe next time, before you plan on invading a Russian alliance, when you don't have that much ability to project power and you're already in a weakened state and you're going to be doing a fucking move op, maybe you could have just not told them. Maybe you could have planned to attack Banderlogs and kept it secret. But if I guess the guy who's in charge of running the military is the big leaker, I don't know. I don't know.
Maybe
what
they're counting on none of them speaking English or watching the meta show, which we know is obviously not true. We have lots of Russian friends who pay attention to stuff that maybe they just wouldn't notice, or maybe they wouldn't hear it. But hey, guess what? It's all out there. We're putting your shit on the streets. Sorry, Barv. All right.
Wow. Okay.
Dunk gave his town hall, and I want to play some clips from it because there are a couple of things that he said that I found interesting that I think we can all appreciate, and then we're going to move on to the PAPIsnowden outing. All right. The first is I'm just going to play this. This is his intro to the town hall, and it just struck me funny. Okay.
All right, everyone. Let's get started here. For those who don't know, I'm Dunk Dinkle, your Alliance CEO, and I want to give you a brief update about what's going on before we get on to this strat up.
Mittens, let me ask you a question. You do firesides every Sunday, right?
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever had to announce to the fireside who you are? That you're the head of the Imperium, that you're the head of Goonsform Federation. Have you ever had to say that? It just, that whole thing struck me as funny because it's like Dunk has to tell his own people who he is.
I think it's a different audience. Like Dunk is really good at the media savvy stuff. Like, credit to where it's due. Like, because think of it, we all kind of like brave newbies at a certain level. We want to like brave newbies because we like Dunk. And it's Sharded and a bunch of fucking lamer people who apparently hated the Imperium so much that they would dedicate so much of their time to try to burn us down. Brave was one of the most dedicated group of line members dedicated to that. But, you know, I think that Dunk knows, especially after several of the articles. I'm coming to his defense on this one because, you know, one of his town halls was linked in the Polygon article, I think PC Gamer as well. And so I think he introduces himself in the same way that we introduce ourselves at the start of the show, because he's kind of realizing that Brave right now is sort of, right now, this is the drama. This is the drama we have right now in post-war Eve. So, you know, that's my reaction. I'm gonna give him a pass on that.
That's fair. And that's perfectly fair. I just thought it was funny because
it is funny. It is funny.
Nobody, I mean, come on. Dunk is one of the most famous players in the game. I would think people would know him, especially the folks in his own alliance. But anyway, I digress. Apparently we are ass clowns for bringing this up. That's fine. I have been called totally worse than that by better people.
Yeah.
All right. The next thing that he said after he announces that they're going to Pure Blind was something that I found very interesting. And I wish I had time to find the audio from 6 or 7 months ago. But Dunk has always argued, and he argued to his own people during the Vietnam War, that he could not leave, that he could not be independent, that there was no way for a group like Brave to be independent because the bigger groups would just gobble them up. So they had to pick a side, and they chose the Pappy side. Now they're singing a different kind of tunes. Let me play this for you.
After the last few years, we've decided to stay out of a coalition and go independent for the most part. So while Winterco and Pandemic Horde have been good to us as we have regrouped in Geminate, we will be basically dropping blue status. So that means at some point we will be unbluing Winterco and being independent.
Unbluing Winterco, unbluing Horde, they're going to be independent. Now, I understand why they're doing it, and it makes sense, but what I hear when I hear Brave is going to be independent, I hear everybody go farm Brave. I mean, that's what I hear. I hear Pure Blind is going to be content territory. You've got 15,000 characters on paper, which is maybe, 2,000 actual people that are playing the game actively. They're going to be in this space. They're going to be not blue to anyone. So where do you go for content? Well, you used to go to Catch. Now you go to Pure Blind. Okay. I mean, I'm fine with that. I just think it's interesting that they would pick this time to go independent. But here's the funny part. They're going independent from Winterco. They're going independent from Horde. And they're saying there's no blue donut, but let me, and I'll play that for you in a second, but here's what he says next about the move and what they're going to be doing immediately.
So going into Pure Blind, I'll say that we do have an understanding with Volta about this.
Oh!
We won't be blue to Volta, but they want fun neighbors. There'll be more details to follow about all that. So it's very important that you listen to your FCs.
This is funny.
It is important for you to shoot what you are told to shoot and not go doing whatever you feel like doing just because they're gray at this time. So we will go weapons free at some point, but for now, please do as asked and do not freelance. Follow the orders of your FCs.
Okay. It's funny. Like, normally goons are the ones who have the trigger happy thing going on, but I never thought of the brave guys as being super bloodthirsty, that they kill anything that's gray anywhere near them. I thought that was
super
interesting.
Bloodthirsty against the fucking Imperium because apparently their line members hate our guts, like I said. But
that's true. But I thought so they're independent, but they're going to lean on Volta as a crutch as they're taking the region. That's interesting to me. And I know Volta, they have tended to be independent, but those guys are scary, and I think that makes sense. But it just surprised me that in the first breath, we're independent, we're not blowing anybody up. And here he said this too, which I think is interesting. Let me play this real quick.
So while Winterco and Pandemic Horde have been good to us as we've regrouped in Geminate, we will be basically dropping blue status. So that means at some point we will be unbluing Winterco and being independent. Now, being independent has some advantages, but it also means there's no easy bat phones for us. So definitely we will not be in the blue donut.
No blue donut. So they're out of the blue donut, but they still have friends, but they're not blue to them. I mean, is that not what we were accused of with Test before the war? Imperial Legacy, we were blue troll. We had a nip, but we weren't allied with them, but that was bad. I mean, it just strikes me as funny, that they're proclaiming their independence while remaining codependent on Volta. I thought that was an interesting thing. There you go.
Okay. Yeah, I need to make sure that I don't accidentally leak some stuff like I always do. I have a little bit of intel related to some of these things, but I don't want to. I wanted to check. Yeah, look, it's a tough situation. One of the things that I think is also happening here, might be one of the reasons why Dunk is introducing himself, and we're seeing a bunch of. Also, Dunk, I think your voice sounds great. That don't have to worry about that. He was saying that in chat. One of the reasons why Dunk is so charismatic is he has that very gravelly, serious, I'm being straight.
I listen when he speaks. It's like E.F. Hutton.
Yeah,
I listen.
No, he's an ENTJ. Credit where it's due. But some of their options might have been to go to Syndicate, but there's no real good safe place to go. You might lose your members. Where I wanted to go with that before I got distracted by Dunk's voice was. There are definitely a bunch of internal power struggles happening in Brave. And so maybe one of the reasons why some of these things don't always make sense to outsiders is kind of like the same way that, if you're a Kremlin watcher or you're trying to understand the Imperium by scooping our excavator drones like old Melka Gold does, is that we don't necessarily have a great picture of what's happening, because clearly you have Sharded Armor, who may or may not be the big leaker all this time, and then you have Dunk Dinkle, and I'm on Team Dunk because I like Dunk, but unfortunately most of the people who were in Brave and showing up day to day playing the video game have made it very, very clear from their actions that it doesn't matter how much you think Dunk is a good dude if PAPISnowden is going to try to run around and blew up the galaxy to try to kill you. So I'm really curious to see how it's going to play out, just because it's like, I kind of have to wait to see how the cards fall, right? Like they got to get from Geminate to there, all of these internal struggles of corpse leaving. Like I don't really keep track of the line by line Brave stuff, which is one of the reasons why it was funny when they'd always accuse us of like spying on their council and trying to like manipulate. Like, I don't even recognize the names of 90%. Like I usually pay attention to alliance leaders, and maybe they're number 2 or number 3s. If they're number 2 and number 3s have like seized control of the alliance, and like, oh, it's like this guy driving the bus. So we'll have to see what happens, but there's definitely been a lot of Brave drama. It could be a huge opportunity for them. I think one of the challenges is, though, whenever somebody plays a card in this game first, like if you are, if not much is happening in the game, right? Like right now, we're all sort of waiting for the crab stuff to come in. We're going to talk about that in a second. There's possibly some conflict between AOM and FRT, because that's always a thing. So that's sort of pending and in the works. And here you have a scenario where Brave has played a card. They said, we're going here and we're going to attack these guys. So essentially, they play their card first. And now everybody who has cards to play around nullsec is going, who's going to react to this? Who's going to go where? What's it going to be? So maybe it's going to work out fine for them. I think it's just interesting because somebody's now played a card, and we're going to see a lot more stuff happen as people react and plan around that. I'm very curious to see how many former Pappy basically just try to immediately farm and beat up on Brave. I mean, I think it's going to be a non-zero number of them. I think that unfortunately for them that, if PanFam starts harvesting Brave, it's real bad news because there's not a legacy anymore. Like there's not like if PanFam and Winterco decide that they just want to farm Brave for content, just to have something to do, then there's nobody that's going to protect them, and not me, not us. Like, you earned that spot. We're not going to go out of our way to strangle you in the crib because everybody else in the galaxy. We might. I'm not going to tell our guys to not go shoot Brave. Like, our guys are going to go to Pure Blind.
I'll tell you right now, we're going to shoot Brave. It's going to happen.
Right. Yeah. Like it's you move to NPC Pure Blind. That is like our backyard. I'm not going to like do a full deployment out there or something like that because nature's going to take its course. But the question is Brave even going to get to Pure Blind in any kind of organizational condition to be able to try to put down heavy assets before a whole bunch of bored former Pappy and just bored, people who want to fight go like, oh, okay, we're doing it in the Galactic Northwest again. It's on. So all eyes are on Pure Blind now, which is something that I'm kind of delighted to say. I'm delighted to say that all eyes are on Pure Blind now because, one, all eyes are not on Delve for the first time in a long ass time. And two, it's just so delightfully unexpected. Like, oh, okay. All right.
This is great.
Pure Blind. Drama in Pure Blind. Fireworks on the monument behind us. It's like, I'm happy with this.
It's a celebration. We're celebrating.
Yeah. I want to make popcorn. I love Pappy on Pappy violence because all the Pappies can say that they are not Pappies anymore. But to me, you're all still Pappy.
Once a Pappy, always a Pappy.
Always a Pappy.
There you go.
So, we'll see how it goes, but it's exciting. It's nice. Like, more people are playing Eve too. That's another thing that's going on is that we're noticing the PCU. I looked the other day and it was above 30K for the first time I'd seen in a hot minute. And it's like, oh, okay. Yeah. Also, once again, just a great chance to remind everybody that the PCU crisis was literally Elf Boy, Villy, and Pickles' fault. And that has now been proven in the data. Never try to make a blue donut again, you fucking dumbasses. Okay.
We don't like it. It's bad.
Yep.
All right. Moving on. The next bit of Brave news. So, as you have been told by certain people who know everything and are quick to tell you that they know everything, including our dear friend Matterall, the other one.
Okay.
Yeah. The other one. He's your friend, I understand.
Yeah. He knows the Matani.
PAPISnowden, the leaker of leakers who has been providing the fun-filled drama for us from the internal super secret areas of the coalition formerly known as Pappy. He was accused, or at least the conventional wisdom, because of Matterall's philosophy, and of course we instantly agreed with him because it made perfect sense to us, that PAPISnowden was the Matani. I mean, of course, who else could be that good? But it turns out maybe we were all wrong. I think it's true. I think we were all wrong. You know why? Because we have leaks from Brave Internal Communications where Shattered Armor is talking nice about the Imperium, and the title of the thread, because he's being so nice about it, is PAPISnowden revealed. Let me show you guys this stuff. This is great. So in this conversation, he says, somebody says to him, and of course the names have been blacked out to protect the innocent. It's safe to say the plan is not going well for you guys. You're trying to implode Pappy to create an independent nullsec PvP alliance, which is kind of what they ended up doing. Shattered responds with, well, I still feel the leaks got us out of the war, which was ultimately the best outcome for Brave. There was no chance Dunk would let us join Goons, no matter how clear it was. To me, it was the best choice. Shattered thinks that joining Goons is the best choice. This is the greatest thing that I have ever heard. And I will say this, just for the record, the leaks didn't get you guys out of the war. You losing got you out of the war. Sorry. Let me just clarify that for the record. Can you believe that? I mean, that's just hilarious.
Somebody's saying, not the leaks. That's the wrong thing. Like I'm so confused. I'm just, I saw this and I'm just, so, first of all, I have run with the joke about, Matterall accusing me of being PAPISnowden all this entire time. And now I kind of feel like a dumbass because never in my wildest dreams would I thought that it would be sharded armor. And so I don't know what to believe. Like, I feel like, when we're in the Dunk Dinkle drama zone, we're like talking about geopolitics for navigating an alliance through a difficult post-war chessboard, and it's all nuts and bolts like Eve grand strategy stuff. And then when we go into the Kool-Aid drinker sharded armor more zone of the Brave drama, I feel like I'm in an Alex Jones thing all of a sudden, because I'm looking at this and I'm like, I don't know what to make heads or tails of this. Because on the one hand, this Norman guy who has been leaking things, it's not the Norman that does.
It's not our Norman. I wish it was our Norman.
Yeah, it's some other guy who's who leaks Brave stuff. And I honestly can't tell you whether these logs that he's posting are legitimate. It does look like they're snipped from lots of context, so Sharded could have been talking about something else. But one of the things that makes me think it's legit is the grammar is so terrible. I've had to read a lot of sharded armor text logs over the last year and a half. Would have left. And PAPISnowden is barely literate. So I'm looking at this and I'm like, I don't know. I'm the guy that's supposed to know. I'm the Mittani. And I'm like, because it's such a dumbass thing. Because like sharded armor, for the entire war, spent all of his time trying to murder Goonswarm. And he was one of the biggest reasons why Dunk got into the situations where he's got to clean up the mess, because he didn't yank the leash of this idiot unhousebroken child who fucked up his alliance. But apparently a lot of his alliance really did just want to kill the Imperium because those guys turned up. So, whatever, actions, not words.
Right. But that's the funny thing when he goes in here.
He's saying that like Sharded is now saying that Dunk was like, he was the
Dunk was the Gurgoons
I'm the
guy.
John Travolta meme right now. I'm just like, okay. So I thought it was an original Sinners guy. I thought it was,
I think we all thought it was Brother Bob or Pittsburgh or one of those guys.
And
now we think now it looks like it's sharded. But
I mean, I'm kind of disappointed because I can't joke about me being PAPISnowden anymore. But
because we know who it is.
Yeah, I mean, I guess.
I have to laugh, and then the next statement, and we'll get off of this because it just. If you would have brought Brave to Goons, you would have been leading about half of an alliance. Lol. I love that it got would have, and then would have. With so many people would leave. And then Shard is like, the people that would have left because it was so ingrained in their heads that Gurgoons aren't worth the effort to keep around anyway. Damn. I saw this, and my first response, and I'll pull up, I'll scroll down here because I think my comment is in here somewhere. I said, if this is real, I almost feel bad for making fun of Sharded so much because he doesn't hate us. And I thought it was weird. I never thought that of all the people inside Barv that were Goon fans, that Shattered Armor would be one of them. That just the idea of that never crossed my mind.
I can't tell if these things are fake. Like has Shattered like, sorry, like I'm so discombobulated by this that I forgot to use my.
We forgot to use the nicknames.
Sharded Armor. So yeah, Sharded Armor. Has he denied this, or has he said
I haven't seen
is a leak? But it's saying like, what is happening here?
I haven't seen anything that would be contrary to, or at least I've not seen anything saying that this is not true. That this was not real. It's so dumb. That's why I'm like, I think it could actually be real, because he's exactly that kind of, like, he was just desperately licking Piggle's ass for the entire war. And he is the exact sort of person who would turn on a dime and sell all of his friends out and claim that he was always like pro-goon anyway. Because I manifestly know that Chartered Armor was not pro-goon at all. The Black Hand was doing lots of things. Well, PAPISnowden might have been PAPISnowdening. The Black Hand was doing Black Hand shit. We used our entire espionage operation for the entire war, a year and a half, and we scaled it the fuck up.
So I know what Shattered Armor was saying during the war, and he was not singing any kind of pro-goon tunes, but he's exactly the kind of guy that sort of like, try not to make American political reference, but he's exactly the kind of guy who would just turn on a dime and be like, I was never into that. I never liked that. I was always pro-goon. It was those other guys that were goon and were leading us into this bad situation. And I Shattered Armor. And so he is exactly the kind of guy that would see that the war was not going his way because he helped run it into the fucking ground because he's a goddamn idiot, and then turn around and sell out all of his friends, blaming them for his own position. So it's entirely in character. The grammar is there. The stupid venality is there. I don't know. It could be.
It could be. And listen, I think it's hilarious because to me, I'm going to make another World War II reference because Boat's not here, so I'll do it. But this reminds me of the general, and I can't remember which one it was, that was all like Operation Market Garden, World War II. We're going to take 3 bridges. It's going to be great. We're going to march right into Berlin. And then the whole thing collapses. And he goes out there and says, well, I always said, I thought it was a bridge too far.
Yeah.
You know, it's just hilarious. Was it Monty? Yeah.
That was Monty.
You know, it's one of those things where it's just, you turn around after you fought a whole war telling everybody how shit we are. And like, well, if you were like all Gurgoons now, well, we don't want you in Brave anyway. That's weird. All right. So,
well, the previous leaks, sorry,
yes, go ahead. Keep going.
Somebody else brought this up in chat that made something trigger in my brain, which is, to be fair to this Norman leaker, whoever he is, like what was the big leak that Dunk denied publicly from like 2 weeks ago when they said that Brave was going to go to Pure Blind? And did they say that they're going to go to Pure Blind and then like attack Russians? Like that leak from last time? I don't know.
Well, so this is what I said when we brought that up on the show last week, and I have to laugh because this is textbook Villy style dithering, where there's a leak, and the leak says Brave is moving to Pure Blind. They're leaving right now. Winter Cove's going to help them take the space. Okay. 90% of that was true. The only thing that wasn't true was the Winter Cove part, but that happened after the leak because it was found out, and then Winter Cove said, we're not going to do it. So Dunk says, Reddit is a lie. Well, what was the lie? Well, the lie was obviously...
believe it was true. I mean, I was like, I don't know anything about this Norman thing. Like, could be random chat logs, like whatever. And then when there was an official denial, I was like, okay, that's probably what it is.
Okay, sorry, my people tell me it wasn't Monty. It was Frederick Browning, a different general. But anyway, regardless, I don't want to get too bogged down. But the whole point is they do this thing like where you get 95% of what's correct, and there's one thing that's not accurate. Oh, that's a lie. Villy used to do that shit to me all the time, and it's exasperating because you get the bulk and the spirit of the news correct, but one thing is misstated, and that turns everything into a lie. No, that's not how it works.
He's a chicken shit little bitch, and he likes grasping at straws, and that's what people like that do.
Anyway.
Wow.
So moving on, we've done enough for that. That is the Brave news for the day. We have some other Eve stuff. All right. So the last thing that's to wrap this up, and it's very quick. The last Happy Keep Star, the last test Keep Star anywhere around that we want to blow up and curse is dead. It's gone. It blew up. Shout out to my boy, Twickerham Screwdriver. That is Waking T, one of the FCs and it's alt. That's the second time he got top damage on a Curse Keep Star in the span of a week. He also got top damage on the UTAC Q Keep Star. You're my boy. I was very pleased to be there. And the most amazing part of the death of this Keep Star was I didn't die. I wasn't doomsday.
I was like, okay, like, what is this?
Right.
Like that is the closest. That is like, the biggest sign I have seen yet that like, okay, they got the message. Like nobody interfered with that op, which is nice. On the meta show, we said, please don't interfere with this because anybody that interferes with this, we're going to say, oh, you're helping test. We're going to slate some of your shit for demolition. People didn't. Great. But, come on, Test. You could have at least doomsdayed Brisk.
Right? I mean, listen, if a Keep Star dies in Curse and I don't get doomsdayed, did it really die? Are we sure it's dead? I can't be sure. There's a kill mail, but I don't know. especially, I love the fact that we killed this thing and I didn't die this time, because this fucking thing killed me 3 times before when we were reffing it. So I survived this time. 3 Ravens down, but I made it this time. Thank you. All right, we're going to move on. We're going to go on to piercing the corporate veil. We're going to talk a little bit about the new Concord beacons, the crab modules. I love the fact that they kept that name. They told us about that name when they first started working on this on the CSM, and I lobbied heavily along with the rest of the CSM. We're like, you can't change that name. It needs to stay the crab module. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. We're going to show you some of the scope video, and if we have time, I'll actually run one of these sites, or at least I'll try to, on CC while we're on the show. You'll get to see us play Eve on an Eve show. This is like a first for us. So here we go, piercing the corporate veil. So they announced on Tuesday, summon the swarm. I love the fact that it's called the swarm, by the way, because, hey, you know, that's us. You know, we're the swarm. Brave Capsuleers, lowercase b, just saying. They are, brace yourselves to open the portal to a new form of capital gameplay coming to New Eden. The Concord Rogue Analysis Beacon is a deployable that's been developed to research the increasing number of rogue drones, blah, 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 blah. Listen, one of the things that I campaigned on, one of the things that we have been talking about here on the Meta Show for quite a long time, and I'm gonna go ahead and throw this video up so we can watch the scope while we are sitting here talking, is we need to get capitals in space. The industry changes, the scarcity changes have made it very difficult to get capitals in space. People are very unwilling to risk them because they're so expensive. And those that have them can't do anything with them. So they sit in hangars empty for the vast majority of the time. That's not good for the game. It's not good for the people that own these. It's not good for the people that are trying to sell them, even though nobody's doing that right now because you can't build any. So everybody's just sitting on their stockpiles. But the reality is, hunters need something to hunt. To get more ISK in the game, because of all the scarcity changes, there needs to be something added to make it possible to get these ships in space. This is what they've come up with. It's this crab module. And essentially what it is, it's a beacon that you deploy in space. It allows you to run a site that are designed both with the idea that it requires a capital to use it, and at the same time, it provides a significant enough reward that it's worth the risk to put that capital in space. So essentially, you drop this beacon, your capital is tethered to it for 3 minutes at a minimum. It takes 20 minutes to run the site, and if you don't do it, I think either within 20 or 40 minutes, the site despawns, the can explodes. But the goal is you get ticks of bounty ISK, but you also get modules and loot at the end that provide a significant benefit. That's where a lot of the money's coming from, and they're gonna do all kinds of stuff with the loot tables as we understand it. So
thank God.
These are going to be cool if they get them right. The problem I find, at least so far that I've seen, is these things seem to be geared towards dreads. The carriers tend to get chewed up pretty hard. Supers tend to get chewed up pretty hard. Titans can't hit any of the stuff because they don't have haul guns anymore. So I'm not sure, unless you can find, unless somebody's figured out a fit for like a super haul style tracking Titan that can handle this thing. I don't know if this is going to be a great site for Titans, but I think right now we're seeing everybody's out there. These are on CC. It gives everybody a chance to go and look at these, test them out, see how they're going to work. I know there has been some talk on Reddit that the risk versus reward is imbalanced and people aren't going to run these in any of the places where hunters can get to them. So that's kind of a thing where we're all trying to figure out what exactly this is going to do. But boss, I wanted to have you, I'm going to go ahead and run one of these, or at least try to do that while we're talking about it.
Yeah.
Because I think it's kind of interesting. This is the first time we've really had a chance to see a capital PvE type scenario that's not like running a sanctum or just ratting in general or mining with a rorqual. So here we go.
Yeah,
go ahead and do this on
if
CC.
If you need to focus on that, I can run my mouth for a little bit.
Keep going. Let's chat while we do it.
So basically, like I'm I'm of several minds about this. First of all, I think it's great that CCP is finally doing something to add content to the game that they have been beating on and starving for content, and then blaming us for having a war. Like, whatever. Like, there's a whole bunch of fingers that can be pointed about the scarcity situation and the fact that, what was I saying last week on the Meta Show, that they busted the capital, sort of supply chain so badly, and they didn't understand it, that you literally, nobody's like, all of these dreads and stuff that are getting used are pre-built stockpiles. So one of the things that Brisk was alluding to earlier that is critical, because EVE's economy is incredibly complicated. And like I said at the beginning of the scarcity nonsense, it's kind of like these guys just started, they stayed at a Holiday Inn Express overnight, and they went into reactor control room and started just throwing wrenches around, and stuff started breaking. And they'd be like, oh, well, we planned on doing this, and we planned on having it such that people couldn't really build a new dreadnought for, Wyverns costing 95 billion ISK to build. So it's good to see that some corrective action is being taken. One of the things that Brisk touched on is that you need to provide a reason for capitals to be in space, because it gives the capital players something to do when there isn't a war. It gives the people that want to shoot the capital players something to do when there isn't a war. It gives the people that want to build the capital ships to sell them to the capital ratters that got them blown up something to build. So you're starting getting a demand cycle. One of the issues that we have right now in EVE Online is that they essentially shell-shocked the economy to the point that normally there would be some sort of like an attempt to inject liquidity into EVE, or just to get people building again. But literally, CCP does not seem to have understood that they fucked up. Like, I don't think CCP, even if I say it on the Meta Show with a CSM member as my co-host, that nobody's built new dreadnoughts for like 5 months and it costs 95 billion to build a fucking Wyvern. I don't think that that's getting over there to Iceland. So putting all that aside, I think it's a good thing. I think it's interesting that it's based on dreadnoughts. If they add a carrier thing too, that's great. I personally am delighted that it's dreadnoughts, which if I say that I'm delighted by it, that means that CCP might nerf it because Gargoons. But personally, as an alliance leader, I love the idea that we have a strong incentive for people to get as many like skilled into tons of Hodreds. Like, gee gosh, if everybody in the Imperium had that 3 characters for we have 40 Rorquals, huge groups of carriers. If CCP wants to make it such that using dreadnoughts in PvE is useful, I'll
right. I mean, I'm not going to complain if they can do that.
That makes me a very happy man. Like, as somebody sitting in the big chair, please. But dreads are great. I love dreads. I've some of the best fights that I've ever had in EVE Online have always been dread drops, and they're just amazing. They're intense, and so I love dreadnoughts. I love to see more things with dreadnoughts. Yay, dreadnoughts! I think that they should also give something for the carrier pilots to do while they're doing this, and we'll see how it is. But I don't want to. I'm glad that they're doing the thing. So walk us through what we got here, Risk. I see that you are at the beacon now.
I'm at the beacon. I warped to 100 at a planet. I dropped this off. The way the deployable works is that you can't get near a lot of these things. It needs to be 100,000 away from another one. It needs to be 500 kilometers away from any kind of control to any kind of POS. 100,000 kilometers away from any kind of Stargate station, upwell structure, any of that kind of stuff. 500 minimum distance from the ESS. You can't use them in wormhole space. You can't use them in Pochfin. You can't use them in abyssal dead space, and you can't use them in dead space in general. The max lifetime is an hour, and they're pretty tanky. They've got about 50,000 EHP, shield armor and structure. And when you launch one of these, let me make sure it'll show up on the overview if you have it up. So you can see here. Shows up Concord Rogue Analysis Beacon. Now, I'm not going to go into Siege when this thing goes because I don't have any Stront in my Dread because I was lazy and didn't bother fitting it completely. But that's not the point because I don't really care about this stuff. So I have to begin the link, I think, here. Begin link right here. You click on that. And that, what it does, I can't tether. I can't cloak. And I'm stuck here. And then it's a placeholder link bonus.
So
it gives me a bit of a damage resistance, but I'm kind of stuck, and I'm sitting here linking to this thing, and now I'm waiting for it to find rats, and the rats will come in and start shooting at it, and I will have to start shooting at them. I'm using a Hawdred. This was a fit that I've had for a long time. I don't know if it's any good anymore. It's got a web and a scram.
Are you going to be able to hit those things without going into siege mode if you don't have Strahd?
Well, that's a good question. We'll find out.
We're about to find out.
We're going to find out. I've got dual reppers on this because I can't, you're in a dread, so you can't, if you're siege, you can't get reps from a fax or anything. But basically, as I understand it, these sites are designed for capitals, but a subcap fleet could run them if you didn't want to leave a cap on grid. You have to link it up to get this thing going. But once it's going and the site is available and everybody and the rats are coming in, you could theoretically say warp in a couple marauders and get the cap off grid. Although the price is kind of the same if you have that many. I do know that a lot of folks have been trying to figure out, or how can I run these with subcaps? I know marauders can do it. I'm not sure how other types of ships have been successful or not in this. I'm sure we're going to start seeing people figure this out.
You have a grapple on that thing?
I have a grapple and I have a screen.
Do they come into grapple range? Like,
we're going to find out.
I mean, I guess you're sitting there. So yeah.
So you're sitting here. So
let's wait and see.
Bart, if you want to bring me some Strahd, that's fine. I'm in Poitot. So just move me to MTECO, and then you guys can move.
A lot of people in chat are saying like nobody would use these in a ship where nobody would risk these in a ship where you're stuck. And I think that you'll see certainly in the Imperium, if it doesn't suck, like if the gameplay doesn't suck and it's valuable to do it, like people will absolutely do it. You just are going to have to be adults and organize defenses and accept some losses and stuff. Like, that's the thing is like, it's on CCP to tune it such that it's worth risking a dreadnought. It's a challenge when a dreadnought is like north of 8 billion ISK and this,
right.
Like, I don't even want to know about the build cost right now. But CCP is going to have to do something to get people, it's got to be good enough to make it worth risking a Hawdred to do one of these things. I mean, we will definitely do it in Delve. We'll probably lose a fair few of them just as the process of, dialing in how to do it. But we will see. So you're sitting here waiting. We
got another minute and 13 seconds before this is fully linked, and I think at that point is when you get.
You start the link and then you hold your dick.
But the whole point is like this thing goes up, and you're stuck here for 3 minutes. This is the time when you're most vulnerable, where the hunters are going to be trying to be out there trying to catch guys when they first link. Now, what can link to this? Most capitals can. I know Rorquals cannot. I know faxes cannot. So the combat. I'm not sure about, I would assume Orcas cannot either. It looks like all the combat capitals can link to one of these and start running one of these sites. I think that's kind of interesting. It requires anchoring 3, which I think most folks will have. And I don't know if it has it doesn't have a specific list here. And the description is pending, so we don't know how it's going to be described yet. All right, we are 15 seconds away. We should start seeing some rats warping in here, and then I'll see if this thing can actually hit.
I'm curious to see if Brisk is going to be able to hit the rats. If this is amazing. Live fire testing. Thank God for the test server.
That's it. All right, now all this stuff is done. I've got a minute wind down, and then I could warp off if I wanted to.
Oh, I see.
So the whole point is now that this thing is live, now it's linked. You can see it's doing stuff. It's like blinking things into space here.
Logically, you would probably be in siege and still be vulnerable to being attacked by hunters, right? You
no Strahd,
and you're a dreadnought, but no Strahd. Yeah.
Right. I mean, I could theoretically now warp back, get the Strahd, come back out, and clear the site. But I'm not too worried about it. And if I die, I die. It's who cares?
It's the test server. Yeah.
It's a test server. Yeah, this dread with this fit cost me 23,000 ISK, I think. All right, so there are new rats. Apparently there are rats here shooting me. Here we go. Oh, I'm dying on the other screen. Let me fix my overview so I can get this on here. Add rogue drone entities. There we go. All right, so infested Abaddon, infested eagle here. We're going to shoot these guys. There's one. Can I hit him? I can hit him barely, but he's doing, look at the chunk. I mean, he's doing some serious damage here. He's knocking 20, 28, 64. I mean, this is a lot. Now, granted, I'm armor fit, so I'm not too worried about this at this point. It's pretty solid. But yeah, I'm hitting the battleship. We'll see if I can hit the drone. All right. I got decloaked and blown up in M2, which is how almost every single one of these ends. That's fine. It's perfectly okay. This is what happens. This guy's in web range now, so I have him webbed. He's not going very fast anyway. That's kind of, I'm kind of surprised that they get that close. This other drone, this Eagle here, is, well, obviously it says infested Eagle, but it's a drone picture. They're going to probably have to fix that. But that's interesting. So let me get that back here.
Yeah, I think that it's probably balanced around you straunting it up.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I'm doing all right, and like I can probably keep up with the damage here with my reppers. There's a time limit. This thing lasts for an hour. It's going to take a little while. There's an infested Raven that just warped in.
Apparently, Straunt is on the way. Somebody's going to deliver us some Straunt here.
All right. Well, it may get here before the show's over, but I don't know. We'll see. But I think, I mean, look, from a purely like CCP perspective, this is new high-end content for capital pilots. We don't see that very much anymore, and I think it's cool that this is a thing that we're going to be able to start, playing with. The big question, and I think what we're always going to have to focus on, is balancing risk versus reward. Is the risk going to be worth the reward? And I don't know. I mean, my understanding is that this is balanced now, that the ticks are 50-60 million ISK, plus you're also going to get the loot at the end. I'm not sure if they have completely decided what the loot tables are going to be, but I understand it's going to be worthwhile. And I think this is going to put, I think for at least for a good section of the game, it's going to put people back into space. Let me open up my ship here, my fleet hangar, let everybody in.
What is this going to do to the indexes? So like, the dynamic bounty system where like, if you have a bunch of Hodreds moving through an area where subcap players are normally trying to do subcap stuffing, is this going to like interact with that mechanic where like we can't do like Hodred crab farming in the same industrial zone as where we have everybody else trying to run sites? Do you like that? That is a legitimate question from like an organizational perspective, because if these things are keyed to the same indexes, then you sort of need to have your intensive capital farming zone separated from everybody else, right? You see where I'm going with that?
Yeah, totally. And I think the big speculation about these has been, in addition to this site being added, and I'll show you here on my, well, I don't know if this is going to show up. It's not going to show up. If you look here, there's this green thing that's added next to the 0.0 section of this. It's called interference. We don't know what that is yet. Now, we don't know, and as far as I understand it, I don't know whether or not the system's bounty risk modifier is going to apply to the ratting ticks. But even if it does, I think my understanding is that the bulk of the loot on these is going to come from the modules and the loot that you get at the end. The bulk of the wealth that's going to be generated is going to come from the modules that you get at the end. So what happens is you kill all of these things, and then at the end, you open up this module, you open up the crab,
so
and
the
there's a
crab
bunch of loot in
beacon
it.
sort of is a regulator and just hands you your loot. Thank you for risking your capital. I see. That's convenient.
And here's the cool thing. The hunters, for the first minute or so, only you can get access to the module. But after the first minute, anybody can blow this thing up and steal the stuff. So that gives, I mean, the hunters have an incentive to come after you to kill your ship, but they can also take the stuff from the site as well. So that provides them with a benefit too. So I feel like they did a pretty good job in order to set these things up so that there's reasons for the guys that are PvEing to run them. There's reasons for the guys who are PvPing, not only to go and find these guys to fight them, but also to stick around and get the loot. So they're making money too, in addition to whatever they're getting from killing the capital on grids. So I kind of I like this. I like this better than if they had just created some kind of an anomaly type thing. I like it better than if they had the one thing I was absolutely 100% against was this being in some kind of dead space pocket, or this being in some kind of place where you couldn't get anybody to attack you, because that would have been bullshit. Like the absolute last thing we wanted was to make this hard, where like the only place you could PvP is at the entrance, like an ESS.
There's a container. You know? Somebody's delivered you a container that I think has a present full of Stront in it.
Oh, yeah, I got some Stront.
And slam that sucker in the magic box and see what we got.
There we go. Look at that. All right, fuel bay. I can siege now. Holy shit.
Yeah, let's turn that rev on, baby. Let's see what we can do.
All right, so here, let's see what we can do with this set properly. All right, I am now sieged. Let's see how fast we can kill this guy. My DPS has gone up to 3461. This infested eagle is dying a lot quicker than the other one was. He's moving a bit quick. Let's see if he's too far away. There we go. Look at that tick. One more, and we're going to kill this raven. Hopefully my repper will keep up here. I did remember to bring cap boosters. So
now that
thanks,
you're
guys.
in siege, you should turn them off and just see how much you're.
See how it goes.
Yeah, I mean it's really hard to both stream be on camera and like I don't know how a lot of the like Eve streamers and people do it to like juggle all those things. I'm not much of a multitasker, so I'm backseat driving to help Brisk out here, guys.
All right, we're shooting a little bit more here. Let me kill this one guy. We'll kill this raven. And then I think we're probably, we'll call it for that.
Yeah,
but it looks
I'm definitely seeing why the Phoenix would probably be the ship of choice for this. Like a Phoenix Haw, like you got active shield, you got nice punchy missile, and you don't have to juggle the cap nearly as bad.
I mean, that's the one thing that sucks with these revs. But my understanding, Nom Nom has run a bunch of these. My fellow CSM member, Anominate. The Raven is dying super quick now. That's much better. We got an infested Typhoon here now. We're gonna shoot that guy. The rev.
We're cooking with Stront.
Exactly. The rev that we're using now, and the one that he had been working on, was pretty solid. There is the Typhoon. He's gonna die pretty quick. Yeah, these guys are dying really fast now that I'm sieged, which is nice. So that's probably what you want to do. But then again, the benefit is if I'm sieged, I'm stuck on grid for 5 minutes until I go red on my siege. So I think they did a pretty good job with these. I'm interested in seeing how the balancing works and in terms of the loot and the rest of that kind of stuff. But I think that's enough for now. Go ahead and just close this out and go back to
I'm
our
really
regular
glad that
screen.
CCP is adding something that's going to get some capital ships in space again, right? Like that.
Exactly.
That was one of the worst aspects of the scarcity shit. Is basically it broke the economy, not only just in the production sense, but it removed the incentive to put the stuff in space that's worth hunting. So essentially, all there is to do in Eve currently. I mean, there's a lot more to do in Eve, but you have filaments, you got drifter holes, you got kikimoras, and you got Rorqual hunting, and you got people trying to defend Rorquals, and that's cool. Like we love us some Kikis because they're a shitload of fun. But CCP's got to get people in space. The game is based around people in space blowing each other up and trying to keep each other from getting blown up. So high fives all around. I'm looking forward to more. I love dreads. I'm a dread nerd. So I'm biased.
Very good.
Great. Well, thank you for demonstrating that, Brisk. I think we've run a little bit over, but I think
we're a little bit over. But we want to give everybody a chance to take a look at that because again, this is probably the biggest thing PvE wise we're going to see in a while. This is part of CCP's efforts to fix scarcity, and it's also part of their efforts to create content. Now, whether or not that happens is up to everybody that's out there who has one of these ships and has to decide whether they think it's worth it to run these sites, and we'll find that out pretty quickly. But I do want to give them credit. And look, we criticize CCP all the time. This isn't we're not being paid here to shill for these guys. If this site sucks and nobody uses it, we will be the first to tell you that this site sucks and nobody uses it. But for now, I think that they're on the right track here, and having something that's designed for capitals, for capital pilots, for like an end game kind of thing, at least PvE wise, is a good thing. And I'm looking forward to going out on a number of Schvope fleets to kill the guys that are running these things in horde space, because I know we're going to do that. It's going to be fun. So we'll see how this works out. Guys, we had a lot of news this week. We had Brave moving to Pure Blind. We had the PAPIsnowden outing. Our dear friend, Shattered Armor, appears to be, and he isn't denying it, at least not yet, that he is Mr. PAPIsnowden. And we have these new crab modules that CCP has put out. Like right now, I'd say if you have if you want to find out more about these things, get out on. They're on Singularity. Go over to CC, get a ship. They're cheap. Run them. See what you think. See if you think it's a good idea. If you don't, it's a good idea. I'd like to hear your feedback so we can provide it to CCP, CSM wise. But that has been the Meta Show for this week. Boss, you have any final closing thoughts before we get out of here?
Yeah, that's it. It's been a great show. It was fascinating. I got to play a little EVE Online on our EVE Online stream for the first time in a hot minute. And yeah, absolutely. So I'm looking forward to it. EVE is heating up, guys. It's great. There's more people playing, and now CCP is giving us hopefully giving us a reason to put stuff in space to blow it up. And people are making big mistakes on the big chessboard. Maybe not. But it's interesting times. I'm pumped for it. So tune back in next week, and we will see who is harvesting Brave.
Who's harvesting Brave?
And what the next fucking leak is going to be. God
exactly
damn.
Right. All right, everybody. Thank you all. You've been watching and joining us for the Meta Show for October the 2nd, 2022 or 2021. I was getting ahead of myself there. We are 19 days away from EVE Vegas. We're looking forward to seeing you guys there. We'll catch you all next week on the Meta Show, and you stay classy, Newey.